everyone. Hello. And welcome. Thanks so much for coming to our July Cabaret on the lake. My name is Scruggs, and I'm the curator and producer of the show. And this is my husband, Jake Scruggs. And we do a podcast together called Are You Famous Yet? And it is a sponsor of the Cabaret. But first, the Cabaret is a sector of Three Cat Productions, which a lot of you may know, and they do all new work. Never in Oklahoma, no. We are a safe space to experiment, try new things, and be fully ourselves. So it's been an artistic home for me, and I'm so happy to be here and be here with all of you tonight. So
I think I was supposed to promote the podcast.
And now, anything else to note?
So that's Are You Famous Yet? You can look at areyoufamousyet.com or areyoufamousyet on Facebook. It's kind of a joke about everybody thinks your friend should be famous if they're in the arts. Anyway, we interview artists. We've done 225 episodes, 26, something like that. We do them every week, so please listen if you like. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm going to over there, and you're going to handle this.
Alright, so we've got 7 wonderful performers tonight with us, and our first is Deborah Hines, Storyteller. Yes. You don't have to hold back here. Deborah is a native Chicagoan from the South Shore, transplanted to the strange land of the North Side. She's got her BA in English and a French minor, and also worked on a master's in creative writing. And she said that Three Cats, Cabaret on the Lake is one of her favorite places to perform. She's done a lot of writing. She's been a long lines telephone operator, a typesetter, a licensed esthetician, and a devoted spa manager through boom and bust economic cycles. All right, without any further ado, welcome Deborah Hines.
When I was growing, can everyone hear me? Okay?
Yes.
Can you hear? All right. When I was growing up in Chicago in the 60s, there was a disc jockey that I used to listen to. His name was Herb Kent. He was one of the good guys on WVON, a station whose call letters stood for Voice of the Negro. Yes, I admit, I like WLS with its ritual of playing the top 3 most requested songs at 10 o'clock. And yes, I admit to listening to WLS's competition, WCFL, sometimes. I also like WYNR, WVON's competition. I liked a station out of Gary whose call letters I don't remember, but whose woman disc jockey, Vivian Carter, I remember. It was rare to hear a woman disc jockey in those days. I remember Buddy Bell's Make Believe Ballroom, which was out of Gary, I think. Time clouds my memory. I sure do remember Purvis Spann, the all-night blues man, out of Gary. All right, sugar, that'll hold you. Spann was fond of saying after he played an especially potent jam. But VON and the Good Guys really had a hold on my heart. And Herbie Baby was my #1 man. Herb went by several professional monikers. Herb Kent, the Cool Gent, King of the Dusties, Herbie Baby. An on-air tag and Herbie's Frank fans recited his name 3 times, mantra-like. Herb Kent, the Cool Gent, Herbie Baby. Herb Kent, the Cool Gent, Herbie Baby. You get the idea? I was just a child when I was so enamored of Herbie. I was in love with his voice and with the cool world that the cool voice created. I was in love with the beautiful music that Herbie played with such devotion. Music whose beauty touched and moved my heart. He wasn't called Herb Kent the Cool Jet for nothing. It's a beautiful night in Chicago, Herbie Baby would say with fervency on warm summer nights in this beautiful city. Warm summer nights with a breeze off Lake Michigan tantalizing South Shore, my home, and a fat, bright, full moon beaming down on Herbie's radio audience. I felt the pulse and excitement of the city rise from its sidewalks and give off a libidinous energy practically palpable. Those warm summer nights of my youth spent listening to Herbie are an inextricable part of it. He'd say it in the fall too, his mellow words from the radio mingling with the sound of dead leaves that noisily skittered across our next door neighbor's front doorstep, which was right outside my bedroom window. When an autumn breeze entered my windows in the night, and I listened to Herbie, bringing with it the almost sacred smell of dying vegetation and cool air, I became crazed with youthful wanderlust. How could I not? Surrounded by these lovely, converging harbingers of winter, like the orange harvest moon in the sky. It's a beautiful night in Chicago, Herbie declared, as if he were uncannily seeing what I was seeing and feeling what I was feeling. Yes, it is, Herbie, but my mother and father sure won't let me out to wander in it. Not 12-year-old me, not by a long shot. Besides, I've got school tomorrow. I have to sneak listening to you with the radio under the covers. My mother will yell, "Debbie, turn that radio off and go to bed. You've got school tomorrow." My mother didn't care what station or who I was listening to. When it was late on a school night, all of them threatened healthy sleep and school success. But the Orlons are singing South Street. Herbie's playing Wah Wah Tootsie. Next up is that voice of Shirley Owens, singing lead so beautifully on Baby, It's You. In the meantime, in between time, as Herbie would say before a commercial break, I grew up a little more each year. My world widened. My parents' hold on me slackened and slipped. My taste changed. My interest waxed and waned. My love for Herbie Baby, however, remained constant. His hold on me with that voice, that cool but genuine persona, sometimes self-aggrandizing. I'm so cool I froze in my clothes. Sometimes self-deprecating. I'm so skinny that when I stand sideways and stick out my tongue, I look like a zipper. In front of and behind that gorgeous music that he played, his hold on me made him my radio love for life. Herb Kent's sign-off was an old hymn entitled Open Our Eyes. He closed with it throughout his long career. He most often played the version sung by the gospel clefs on Savoy Records, although he played versions by other artists. When I think that I don't have what it takes to do the things that I want to do in this life, I listen to Open Our Eyes, and it makes me feel that I've got all that I need to accomplish my dreams. When I feel like the good is losing and the bad is winning on this earth, I listen to Open Our Eyes, and I have hope again. When I need to be reminded of what devotion, majesty, and faith really mean, I listen to Open Our Eyes, and I'm reminded of their sacred meanings. If Herbie, who is now deceased, left me with nothing else but this hymn, he left me all that I'll ever need to keep on keeping on in this life. But Herbie Baby left me with a little something else. To this day, I can't hit the pavement in this city at nighttime, especially in warm weather, feel a breeze off the lake, see the buses and cars slip by. Maybe it's a clear sky allowing the moon to be enjoyed, without hearing Herbie's voice in my head saying, "It's a beautiful night in Chicago." Yes, it is, Herbie baby. And now I'm old enough to wander in it. You were my companion on the journey for many years, and now I'm alone. Well, not really alone, because I can still hear your mellow voice. It's a beautiful night in Chicago.
Keep it going for Deborah! Thank you so much, Deborah, for sharing your story. And coming back, she's a veteran of Three Cats Cabaret on the Lake. Alright, next up we have Chels Harvey, Storyteller. Chels Harvey is an agenda writer, podcaster, storyteller, and UX designer from Atlanta. As a marketer, their writing highlights the many contradictions that fuel our relationship with the Internet of Things around us. After the show, please resist telling them to watch Black Mirror. And here we go! Welcome, Chels Harvey! Welcome back!
I feel like this view should be like another performer. Like it's just so good. Cool. Okay. So this is called Reach Your Health and Fitness Goals by Tracking Activity, Exercise, Sleep, and Weight. Wireless syncing. Kyle emerged from the Amazon locker inside the Whole Foods and found himself thinking only of the small plastic box around which his fingers were now tightly wrapped. The crumpled receipt in his pocket read Fitbit Versa watch, $199.95. Sure, it was a lot of money to spend on a glorified pedometer, but to Kyle it meant something more than being able to track your steps, exercise, sleep patterns, and weight. Kyle, by our criteria, you meet the diagnostic standards for PCOS. 2 weeks into beginning a regular, albeit low-dose regimen of testosterone for hormone replacement therapy, Kyle's endocrinologist delivered this information over the phone. A lot of women have this. Your body produces an excess of testosterone. It explains your irregular periods, the hair on your face, and why you've been gaining weight fairly steadily since puberty. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. Kyle Googled it on his phone on the bus ride back to work, trying not to cry. If you wish to continue to present as male and to use the testosterone to deregulate your period each month, your uterine lining will grow stronger and further inside of you. It will likely result in endometriosis or uterine cancer. The words had hung heavy in the air. He pictured them as a row of chest binders on a clothesline. Life as a man, uterine lining, endometriosis, cancer. Kyle's doctor told him they needed to stop the hormone replacement therapy, if only for a few months. To reverse the effects of Kyle's condition, the doctor assured him Kyle needed only to lose weight and start having regular periods. As much as you don't want to hear this, you were born a woman, and we have to treat you as such. No point in a transition if at the end you die of cancer. The doctor chuckled over the phone. Standing in the entrance to Whole Foods, staring at his new Fitbit while white women around him dragged their husbands inside and toward organic wines, Kyle could think only of his painfully female body and how to eradicate it. When he arrived home, Kyle walked to the junk drawer, searching for a pair of scissors. Meticulously, he cut at the edges of the plastic cube, sliding his hand inside and wrapping his fingers around the masculine shaft of his Fitbit Versa. While it charged, Kyle lay in bed beside his Cocker Spaniel, Olive. With one hand behind his head and one wrapped around Olive, he fantasized about the testosterone he was being denied, and of shedding the one part of him that most represented his birth gender, his uterine lining. Asleep, Kyle dreamed of doctors strapping him to a gurney with Fitbits on his wrists and ankles, force-feeding him low-carb vegetables like celery and cabbage. He opened his eyes in the morning and reached almost instinctively for his Fitbit. Pulling the silicone strap of the Fitbit through its buckle on his wrist, Kyle was reminded of senior prom, when Matthew Connor had pulled the elastic strap of a corsage over Kyle's wrist in the limousine on the way to the aquarium. Except this time, Kyle wasn't in control. This Fitbit represented a graduation, a new self. He didn't need boys like Matthew Connor to tell him that he was pretty and that his dress looked nice. He would be muscular and masculine and shedding his uterine lining every month into a pair of boxers. Kyle looked down at his wrist. You're supposed to laugh at that. This is a safe space. Kyle looked down at his wrist. The strap of the Fitbit tightened. His pupils dilated. His nostrils flared. A single beep and a small square of light indicated that it was on. It had begun. The watch told him that it was 7:45 a.m. on Saturday, November 3rd. Kyle typically spent Saturday mornings making coffee and attempting to teach Olive how to shake his hand. That morning, he wanted to take action. He wanted to move. Kyle leapt from the edge of the bed, slid his feet into a pair of sneakers without laces, and threw a sweatshirt on over his chest. When he walked to the door and dropped his keys inside the pocket of his sweatpants, the Fitbit chirped, 10 steps. Striding down the sidewalk, Kyle walked with purpose. In his mind, each step was one that brought him closer to his masculinity. Instead of catching the bus at the corner, he walked to the train. Instead of sitting on the train, he stood, gripping the metal pole. At his stop, he took the stairs instead of waiting on the escalator with the suitcases and their tourists. Emerging from underground, he walked triumphantly toward the lakefront. It was barely morning at the end of fall. Couples jogged in matching yoga pants, and Kyle touched the surface of his Fitbit. It chirped agreeably. He took off in a run that begrudgingly admitted to itself it was a jog, which became after 35 minutes a walk and eventually dwindled to a limp. Dropping onto the edge of Buckingham Fountain, Kyle stared at the gaping mouths of stone animals that had nothing to say. Immobile, their green muscles taut, the four sea horses looked at one another with anguish unmatched by the stillness of the water around them. Kyle tapped the surface of the Fitbit, 3,206 steps from his goal. Each day, Kyle attempted to move his body until it looked the way he thought it should. He joined a gym, lifted weights, bought a 10-pound bag of protein powder online. He started meeting with a man named Mike from LA Fitness who told him that sweat is just the result of fat crying. Kyle overlooked this. After a month, he lost 10 pounds and gained muscles on his biceps and calves. Work through the pain, Mike would chant, because the pain is God telling you that you're doing the right thing. The Fitbit chirped in approval. One afternoon, immediately following his fifth set of tricep lifts, Kyle entered a bathroom stall and slid his gym shorts to his ankles to find a small spot of blood pooling in the crotch. A gasp escaped his lips before he could stop it, relief bubbling to the surface. His Fitbit chirped encouragingly. That winter, Kyle had his period each month and lost 25 pounds. He walked, ran, jogged, hustled, pulled himself through the city with a kind of momentum once foreign to him. He drank bulletproof coffee and stopped cooking his food and replaced all of his favorite fruits with raw vegetables that snapped between his teeth. He bought all new clothes and a pair of Allbirds sneakers. He ran in the bike lane, spread his legs on public transit, talked on his phone, and lined at Starbucks. He became a man. With legs curled over the metal seat of the examination table, Kyle breathed a deep sigh of relief as his doctor handed him the vial containing his liquid testosterone. "You're really starting to look like a man," the doctor admitted, astonished. At the end of their appointment that afternoon, the doctor even shook Kyle's hand. The next morning, Kyle looked at himself in the mirror and smiled. His jaw looked sharper, his hairline had receded at the temples, the stubble on his chin looked more at home. He touched a finger to the cold glass face of the Fitbit, the familiar chirp, the flash of numbers, far less meaningful now that Kyle had what he needed. Reaching for the clasp of the silicone band, Kyle moved to release the Fitbit from his wrist and found that nothing happened. He looked down, saw himself physically pull the band through the buckle to find the buckle firmly in place, the band wrapped around his wrist. The Fitbit chirped. A few more tries and Kyle's mind raced. He wiped sweat from his brow, eyes darting. Why couldn't he get this thing off? He'd been practicing finger dexterity and grip strength with Mike from LA Fitness every other day for the last week. There was no reason he should be unable to remove a simple silicone band from his wrist. No matter, he rushed to the kitchen junk drawer, thrusting it inside. Pulling out the scissors, he slid one blade beneath the silicone strap. What was the harm? He'd reached his fitness goal. He was going to start taking testosterone and adhere to the same habits he developed thanks to the Fitbit, so why keep it? Why worry? Why the fuck wasn't this coming off? When Kyle snapped the two arms of the scissors together over the silicone, nothing happened. The Fitbit remained on his wrist. It chirped. Kyle raced down the stairs, propelled himself across the concrete of the sidewalk, pushed past several women without noticing, and swiped his venture card to board the Brown line. He was headed to LA Fitness. When he walked by the front desk without swiping his key fob, no one noticed because he was white and because he was a man. Bounding down the stairs to the weight room, his eyes searched for Mike from LA Fitness among the funhouse mirrors and muscle tees. Where the fuck was Mike? Circling the room several times, Kyle audibly groaned, circling his fingers into angry fists. The Fitbit chirped. Kyle stopped, took a deep breath, touched his finger to the Fitbit, saw the light, heard the chirp, examined his wrist carefully. The face of the watch displayed the time, date, today's steps, his heart rate, which was climbing, and one last metric he'd never noticed before. A single green horizontal bar rested at the top center of his Fitbit Versa watch. It pulsated each second, half empty. Kyle stared and it stared back. Maybe he was being ridiculous. It was the beginning of spring after all, and an unusually warm morning. Maybe the silicone was just sticking to his skin. His scissors were dull. He needed new ones. Yeah, that was right. He didn't have the right fucking scissors. At home, Kyle ordered pizza, drank a beer, and watched several instructional YouTube videos on how to manually clean the carburetor on a car he did not have. At noon, his Fitbit chirped. He ran up and down the stairs outside of his apartment 3 times, carrying Olive, his Cocker Spaniel, in his arms. Inside, Olive hid under the bed. When the sun went down, Kyle pulled the testosterone from his backpack and removed the needle, preparing to inject himself. He Googled strange green status bar on Fitbit Versa Watch 2018, but the results were slim. No one else had reported the appearance of the bar. In the morning, he checked and it appeared fuller. What did it measure? He could have called someone at the store, but why bother? He would figure it out. At noon, Kyle ran down the stairs of his apartment building and retrieved the mail. An envelope containing a letter informed him that classes would be starting again for the spring semester very soon. Classes? Sitting inside in air conditioning for hours at a time? Losing dexterity? Losing muscle? Maybe he didn't need to go back. Kyle lifted each leg individually and kicked out to touch his arms, which were pointed forward like a zombie. When he reached the door of the apartment building, he skipped 2 stairs with each stride. Walking into his apartment, he dropped the envelope in the trash. Yeah, that's right. Why go to class? The world would be his class. He could start a business. Yeah, get a small industrial space in the West Loop and sell handmade t-shirts made from recycled organic materials. It's not like anyone else was doing that. There was no way for him to fail. The Fitbit chirped, but Kyle hadn't been moving. For a moment, he'd been standing, staring into space, planning his successful future. Why had the Fitbit chirped? Kyle touched the glass face of the watch. The green status bar seemed lower. But why? He sat down, made himself a sandwich, and watched the SportsCenter highlights on his phone. Almost immediately, the sun went down. Kyle returned to his bedside with a glass vial of testosterone and a fresh needle. After injecting himself, he heard a chirp. The Fitbit screen became bright, untouched. The green status bar grew before his eyes. Kyle stood, mouth agape, eyes on the Fitbit, which chirped several times. A message, a sentient act of communication, a battle cry. The one thing he wanted more than anything else in this world was to transition, to take testosterone, but safely, with the help of his doctors and his friends. Kyle hadn't spoken to any of his friends since, God, probably months, probably since November, when he purchased the Fitbit. The Fitbit which had encouraged him to go to the gym, to talk to men named Mike, to wear tank tops in the middle of fall and cut his pubic hair over the toilet. Since he had started wearing this thing, he hadn't felt like himself. He thought it was the testosterone, that he'd been becoming more of a man, taking an interest in cars, taking up space on the train, talking on the phone in public. This wasn't Kyle. This had never been Kyle. All along, it was the Fitbit. The Fitbit. This was happening because the Fitbit wanted Kyle to become another white man taking up space in a city full of careless, selfish white men. He would have to destroy it. Running toward the door, Kyle felt the Fitbit tighten around his wrist as if to say, no, please don't remove me, I need this, I need to feel whole again. Had it said that out loud, or had the Fitbit simply chirped several long, low, sullen chirps, urgent chirps, threatening chirps? No, he needed to get to LA Fitness, he needed to find Mike, he needed to get out of this Fitbit. At the gym, Kyle felt himself pulled toward the sensors at the door, but stopped, searching his pocket for his keys to swipe himself in. The front desk clerk shrugged, beckoning him forward. I've seen you here before, you can go through. Meanwhile, a black woman was being interrogated by the other receptionist about whether she had a premier membership or a standard one, and whether she was attempting to lie about it in order to use this location's complimentary sauna. Kyle pounded down the stairs, his Allbirds hitting each step and causing an echo throughout the basement level of the gym. Rushing toward the weight room, he saw Mike in his weird yellow muscle tee and basketball shorts. Mike, Kyle yelled out, Mike, I need your help! Mike turned, smiling. Kyle, I'm so glad you're here. I've been meaning to tell you. Mike stretched out his hand to pat Kyle's shoulder. Kyle's blood turned to ice as he realized that on Mike's wrist there was a Fitbit. I decided to get one when I saw how much it motivated you. I figured if anything, it'll help me get out this little beer gut Karen's always complaining about. Sucking air through his teeth, Mike tapped his rather firm stomach and laughed. Kyle swallowed, stepped back. I need to go to the bathroom. He walked towards the men's restroom on the other side of the weight room, but when he got out of Mike's eyesight, he stopped, staring into the mirrored wall before him, at his own stomach, his legs, his arms. He looked the way he'd always wanted to look, masculine. The Fitbit chirped. Crying out, Kyle stepped forward to a machine, slid the weight pin into the 125-pound bar, pulled the arm back, and slid his own underneath the weight, pausing, taking a deep breath, knowing the only way to escape the grasp of this kind of disordered, hyper-focused fitness mentality was to get rid of the Fitbit, and the only way to do that. The Fitbit chirped frantically, knowing what he was about to do, its glass face looking up toward the weight, anticipating the fall. A hand wrapped around Kyle's, pulling it from under the weight. The machine lowered. Kyle turned. His doctor stared him in the eye. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Kyle. The man smiled, looking sinister even within his compression shorts. He raised his wrist to reveal, "You have one too," Kyle whispered, resigned. "It's the only way," the doctor replied. "The only masculine way to reach your health and fitness goals by tracking activity, exercise, sleep, and weight, wireless syncing." He breathed, smiling. "Before this, we just had to imagine how many steps our commute was and how much sleep we were getting. This was God's intention, Kyle, to help man see exactly what his body was capable of. And it helped you, too. I mean, just look at your..." Kyle winced. The Fitbit was tightening again, chirping a soft, gentle, encouraging chirp. "No!" Kyle pulled away, grabbed the bar of the machine again, and slid his hand beneath the weight. "I wanted to be a man, but not like this. Not like you. It's not worth it if I have to care this much about myself and my appearance at the expense of everyone around me." Kyle released the weight.
Keep it going for Charles. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Charles. Our next performer is Nestor Gomez, who has won the Moth Story Slam over 30 times. Yeah. And is the current Chicago Grand Slam champion. He also hosts, curates, and produces his own storytelling show, 80 Minutes Around the World, Immigration Storytelling Show. Find out more about Nestor at nestorgomezstoryteller.com. Welcome, Nestor.
Before I start my story, just let me tell you that the show that I co-host, produce, and curate is also going to be taken all over the United States. We're going to start with New York on September 8th. We already had the venue, we already had the Storytellers. And we're hoping to bring it to Milwaukee, to Detroit, to Madison, and to more venues around the city. I do have a Kickstarter campaign, so you feel like, oh, we didn't pay anything for this show, maybe I should contribute. Do that. Go to my website, check out my Kickstarter campaign. Go to Storytellers that go to the show, that participate in the show. They do it out of the goodness of their heart, but I feel like it's good for them to have a financial reward for it. So I'm hoping that I can bring the show to many venues and have many storytellers and just tell our immigration stories all over the nation, because I feel like they need to be heard now, more than ever. So I was 15 years old when I was in high school here in Chicago. Now when I was in high school, when I started high school, I needed to do a few things, and I knew what those things were. Number one, I needed to learn to speak English, because I had come to this country only a few months before and I couldn't speak any English whatsoever. I also needed to fix my immigration status. Me and my siblings, we had come to this country undocumented. We crossed the border to Mexico, and then we crossed the border to the United States, so we could be reunited with our mom, who had been here for about 5 years previously. But I also knew that my mother had already applied for me and my siblings, because my mother by then, she had already fixed her immigration status, so she applied for me and my siblings so we could have an immigration status, so we could get papers, so we could have our papers fixed. Because of that, I knew that I needed to learn about the history of the United States, because someday, hopefully soon, I was going to be taking my citizenship test. And I also knew that I needed to learn about the Constitution of the United States, because my mom had told me that that was part of the questions and part of the test to become a citizen. So I was already in high school, so I was going to learn to speak English, I was going to learn to write English, I was going to learn the language. I was already in high school, so I was going to take history classes, and I was going to learn about the history of the United States. The only thing that was left for me to do was to learn about the Constitution. Well, on my last year of high school, my history class was all about the Constitution of the United States. That was something that I needed to learn, because soon enough I was going to be taking my test to become a citizen of the United States. and I was a nerd. So when the teacher said that we were going to be studying the Constitution and she gave us the big book, I went home and I studied the book every single day. I studied and I studied so hard. I was a nerd. I was having fun doing that. At the end of the year, the teacher announced that we were going to take a test. It was going to be 100 questions. It was going to be about the Constitution of the United States. And she said, I'm going to give you this test, but I don't want anybody to copy. If I see anybody copying, the person is not going to pass the test. The person is not going to pass this class, and the person is not going to graduate from high school. And then she started to pass the test around to everybody. I looked at the test, it was 100 questions, we had 1 hour. Of course, I was a nerd, so I started to answer all the questions that I knew. Left the difficult for later. And then I went back and started to look at the difficult questions, trying to answer them. The teacher announced that the time was up. I hadn't finished my test. And she started to collect the test. And immediately it was obvious that she was upset. She looked around the class and said, nobody finished this test. Some of you guys didn't even finish half of the test. Some of you I can see that don't even know the answers to the test and we're just guessing. Didn't I tell you that if you didn't pass this test, nobody was going to graduate? The person who didn't pass this test was not going to graduate from this class, was not going to graduate from high school. But I tell you what, I'm going to give you another chance. Tomorrow, I'm going to pass the test around again so you can have more time to answer the questions. I hope that you go home and study. Mr. Nerd went home and studied. So the next day I'm ready. I'm like, okay, I know what questions I couldn't answer. I know the answers now. I got this. I'm waiting for the teacher, and the teacher doesn't show up. Instead of the teacher, a substitute teacher came and announced that the teacher had gotten sick. And the substitute teacher said, well, your teacher gave me this test for you to take. I'm going to pass them around so you could answer. And he started to pass the test around. He put the test on my desk, and immediately my friend who sat behind me got up and started to look at my test. I'm like, oh hell. He's not going to pass the class. I'm not going to pass the class. The substitute teacher looked at us and said, excuse me, young man, are you supposed to be doing that? My friend looked up and said, oh yeah, this is just a practice test. It's okay. The substitute teacher looked at my friend and went, oh okay, then just don't make too much noise. He went back to his desk and he started reading his book. Immediately, everybody started to look around to everybody's test. Somehow, somebody took my test and started to pass it around the class. The next week, the teacher showed up and announced that everybody had passed the test and that everybody was going to pass the class. I knew then that my hard work had paid off and that everybody was going to graduate. Sadly, my hard work, my dedication, didn't really translate it from school to my personal life. You see, right after high school, I got married. So a few years later, when the application to go to the immigration office for my immigration appointment came, I went to the office with my wife, and my siblings went by themselves. While my siblings got the papers fixed, they got the work permits, the immigration agent asked me, who's that? And I said, that's my wife. Oh, congratulations. But you know you were supposed to stay single because your mother applied for you as a single son of a resident. I'm like, yeah, but I fell in love. Congratulations. Now fill out this application. And I was placed in immigration limbo for a few years. So a few years later, I received another letter to show up to the immigration office. I showed up to the immigration office, and the agent looked at me and said, where's your wife, young man? I say, we got divorced. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, he said. And I'm sorry for you because you're going to have to fill up another application. Because now you were supposed to be married and now you're single, so you got to fill up another application. So again, I was placed in immigration leave. And a few years later, I received another appointment, another letter, and I showed up to the immigration office. And the immigration office says, "Who's that?" I'm like, "That's my new wife. Congratulations!" And I'm sorry for you, but you're gonna have to fill up a different application. So again, I had to wait in order to become a citizen. And a few years later, I showed up to the immigration office again when I got another appointment. And by then I had gotten divorced a second time. So I was placed in another limbo. I had to wait a few more years. So yes, complicated my immigration status a little bit. But that's just life, right? I mean, you fall in love, you get married, you get divorced. You fall in love, you get married, you get divorced. At least that's me. And a few other people that I know. So I did complicate my situation a little bit. So this year, at the beginning of this year, I received a letter from the immigration office to say that I was finally going to be able to go to the immigration office for my appointment. And I went to the immigration office and everything was okay. And they gave me an appointment to take my immigration test. So I went home and I talked to my wife, because I did get married a third time. So I talked to my wife and I say, "Look, I'm gonna take the immigration test." And my wife says, "So, are you okay? Do you know the answers?" I'm like, "I've been studying for this test for 30 years. Since I was in high school. I've been ready for this test. But just in case, I'm gonna go to the website, I'm gonna check out the questions, the answers, I'm gonna study again." And I did that for a couple of days. And then I talked to my wife and said, like, "You need to help me to study. You need to help me to make sure that I know the answers. Can you ask me the questions so see if I know the answers?" She's like, "Okay." And she started to ask me the questions. I knew the questions. I knew the answers, like all of them. All of them. There were only 2 questions that I was having problems. 2 questions. Question number 1. Who is the Vice President of the United States of America? The homophobic, fake Christian son of the... Hey. My wife would tell me, "Calm down. Read out. If you answer that way, you're not gonna pass the test." So I'm reading. I'll do that. I wait about 10 minutes and then I say, "Thanks." Question number 2. Who is the President of the United States? The immigrant-hated, liar, cheater, son of the... Hey. My wife would tell me, "Relax, calm down. My wife would tell me for 1,000 times, "Calm down." Now start counting from 1 to 1,000,000. Read out. And now remember that I need to calm down for 1,000,000 times. And I tell myself for 1,000,000 times that he had to fix my immigration status earlier. I could be saying, "Obama!" Instead of having to bite my tongue and say, "Trump." Because if I answered the way that I wanted to answer, they wouldn't give me my citizenship. So a couple of days later, I go to the immigration appointment. They asked me the questions. I answered all the questions they asked me. They didn't ask me those 2 questions. I answered all the other questions that they asked me. They asked me things like, "Why does the United States flag have 50 stars? 1 for every state." Come on, you got to know this. You went to high school, right? They asked me all the questions, that when was the Declaration of Independence signed? They look it up. I'm not going to tell you that. Anyway, they asked me all these questions and I answered all of them perfectly. And they asked me questions about, my paperwork and everything, when you came to the United States. They asked me a few questions to see if I could speak English. I'm like, "This was in English?" So I answered a few questions. I wrote a sentence that they asked me to write, everything. And then I asked the agent, "Did I pass the test? Did I pass the test?" And so the agent like, "I'm not allowed to tell you. You gotta go home and wait for a letter." I'm like, "You gotta wait for a letter that's gonna tell you passed the test or not." So I went home. And a couple of weeks later, I received a letter. Now, I've been here for like 30 years. I have received many letters. I have opened many letters. But I can count in one hand the number of letters that I have opened. And as I read them, they have made me cry. the letter announcing that on March 15, 2018, I was to go to the immigration office so I could become a citizen. It made me cry. And as I finally became a citizen of the United States, during the ceremony, I cried a little bit as well. But as I stepped out of the office, I knew that I had finally passed the test.
Our next performer is Brittany Congleton, musician and comedian. She hails from Kentucky, but has loved calling Chicago her home. Performing regularly with Chicago Kids Company, Hey Ladies, an all-female Southern musical sketch comedy troupe she co-founded, and being a regular host and variety act with Vaudeville Burlesque and Cabaret keeps this goofy gal pretty busy. A t-shirt artist, a redhead, and altogether too feisty for her own good, Brittany hopes to put something silly in the world. And you can learn more about her at www.brittanycongleton.com. Welcome, Brittany!
Doing it. I don't have an inspirational story. I'm going to sing to you about being sweaty, which I think we can all identify with. Woo! Like Luke said, I am a songstress and comedian, and I'm going to do some songs for you. This first song is not one that I wrote. Annette Funicello gets the credit for it, but it seemed like a fun summer song. So let's just do it. Here we go. Pineapple Princess, he calls me Pineapple Princess all day. He plays his ukulele on that hill above the bay. Pineapple Princess, I love you, you're the sweetest girl I've seen. Someday we're gonna marry and you'll be my pineapple queen. I saw a boy on a wahoo isle, floating down the bay on a crocodile. He waved at me as he swam ashore, and I knew that he'd be mine forevermore. Pineapple Princess, he calls me Pineapple Princess all day, and he plays the ukulele on the hill above the bay. Pineapple Princess, I love you, you're the sweetest girl I've seen. Someday we're gonna marry and I'll be my pineapple queen. He sings his song from a banana tree. He even sings to me on his water skis. He went skin diving with the blue, and he sang and played his ukulele too. Pineapple Princess, I love you, you're the sweetest girl I've seen. Someday we're gonna marry and you'll be my pineapple queen. We'll settle down in a bamboo hut, and he will be my own little coconut. We'll go beach bombing and be royalty on a wiki wacky waikiki. Pineapple Princess, he calls me Pineapple Princess all day. He plays the ukulele on the hill above the bay. Pineapple Princess, I love you, you're the sweetest girl I've seen. Someday we're gonna marry and you'll be my pineapple queen. Fun story about that song. The first time I performed it, I was wearing a fruit bra, fake fruit. I don't suggest wearing a real fruit bra because it's not squishy, I don't know. But the first time I performed that song was at a cabaret that I made all my friends come to for my birthday, because that's what you do when you're a selfish performer. You put on a cabaret on your birthday and no one has any excuse to miss it. What was special about this cabaret performance though is that when I was dressed like a turkey doing a song that I do about being a turkey, my husband, who's standing in the back, proposed to me. So everyone's like, oh my gosh, like, how did it go down? I'm like, well, I was wearing a leotard, and my feathers were traced across the floor, and I had my feather boa around my neck, and my turkey feet were sticking out just like this. And then he was down on one knee, and I said I do, and I was really sweaty. So yeah, anyway, so that's a really special song to me. He had the ring for almost a year, trying to figure out how to propose, and one of his thoughts was to learn that song that I just played, and to come out also with his ukulele, he also plays the ukulele, and for us to sing it together, and then that whole bit about like, and we'll be married, he would have been like, oh, let's get married, but I like the way you did it. It worked! We got married! Yay! Only the one time though. I'm just focusing on the one marriage. No judgment! No judgment! But I think I'm gonna... Yeah, right? I know, it's like that's fake wood. I don't know if that works. I'm gonna keep him. I'm also gonna keep spinning up here and do another song for you. These next two songs I'm gonna do are original songs. They're really goofy. I usually perform as an old lady showgirl, but all of her songs are much too sassy for before 9 o'clock. So these are my 7:30 songs. Okay, here's one I dedicated to all of you for sticking around for this long in this sweaty but beautiful room, watching another play behind you. It's the most meta experience I've ever been a part of, so enjoy. Here we go. That's not the right note. That's the one I want. Here it is. I'm feeling all hot and bothered, feeling all sticky and stacked, feeling all this, so let me tell you where I'm at. I got this stain running down my sleeve. I got this stain, ain't getting no sweat relief. It's dripping down my eyebrow, dripping like toothpaste out the tube. It's dripping north and south, and now it's dripping down my boob. I got this stain running down my sleeve. I got this stain. Don't you judge me, Steve. It would make the sweat so generous. I'm doing something strenuous, like get your cash and place your bet. Takes almost nothing to make me sweat. Casual chat with my work friend Kip. It's already pulling right on my lip. Reaching my lunch from my snack pack. Best believe shit sticking to my back. Working the train that's heading south. Oh, look at that, I'm pitted out. Trying to tell my boss a little white lie. Thank God with deodorant on my thighs. I did for this show too, because I got this thing running down my sleeve. I got this thing. Can't get no sweat relief, can't get no cold sipping, day tripping, coffee sipping, scene ripping, sun skipping, sweat relief. Strangely enough, I wrote that song in the winter time. Right, coat stress? Anyone get coat stress ever? Where you like put on all the layers and right, you guys are like, coats, don't talk about them. You like put on the layers and then it's really cold outside and you can't feel your face. And then you get inside into a building and it's like dragging heat on your face and you're like, I can't get this jacket off. And then you seriously consider like, this is the place that I will die. In this coat, in this Macy's, because I can't get my coat off. That's really why I wrote that song. Great. I have one more song for you all. I wrote it just for today. This is the premiere of this song. I know. Oh, good job. That was nice. It's for all of you, but it's also mostly for this type of garment. Perhaps you know what it's called. It's called a romper. Yes, yes. It's the uniform of my generation. So I love them. It's a singular garment. I think they're amazing. But I have many adult friends who are like, that's not what grown-ups wear. And I'm like, guess it is. I'm a grown-up. I think. I work with children also. I'm an early childhood teacher, and they all think it's really cool. So this song is for you guys, them. I'm just gonna remember the tune. Okay. There it is. I remembered it. Great. Okay. That's good, right? I would have just ended it there like, thank you, we're done. Yeah, here we go. Wake up in the morning, look for something to wear. Look for something cool that we all compare. But not too many pieces, not too complicated. Then I found you and I'm feeling elated. Slip you right on and I feel this great. Be real casual, go on a date. Look like a kid, but also a star. It's me and my romper, we both go so far. 70 days great when you're wearing a romper.
Sumter. Yes, we'll go back here. That's right. Amy has done stand-up for 11 years. She's traveled all over the Midwest doing shows, and she loves making people laugh. She was one of the top 100 comics chosen for season 9 of Last Comic Standing. You can find her at the bookseller with the Kates and performing with her band, She's Crafty, at City Winery on July 16th. They are an all-female Beastie Boys tribute band. Welcome, Amy!
Guys, thank you so much. I know it's super, super hot. I know there's another show going on here. And a lot of action. So you guys have been an awesome audience, all right? Thank you so much. I got a high kick because that's what I do. Don't worry, I'm wearing shorts underneath because I got these at Kohl's. Use my Kohl's cash. That's how I roll. I bought one pair, I liked it so much. Went back, got 2 more pairs. So whenever I high kick, people are like, aren't you afraid they're going to show your underwear? And I'm like, no, it's covered in pubic hair. Okay, don't tell anybody. Okay, I'm a classy broad. I'm a real classy broad. So I'm afraid of the dentist. There, I said it, I'm old, I'm afraid of the dentist. I grind my teeth real bad, sleep with a night guard, real sexy lady. I wouldn't do it. Like at first I started off with a night guard that I bought at Target for $25 and I thought that was excessive. And but every time I wore it, it would hurt my mouth. So eventually I went to the dentist and I was just like, I have like sinus issues, I have like teeth issues, and he was like, you need a night guard. And I was like, I already tried one. Target. He was like, this one's different. It's $650. I was like, ew! I don't have dental insurance. Bleh. But put me on a payment plan, thank you care credit, and I got a night guard. And at first I was embarrassed to wear it, but then my counselor, of course I have a counselor, I'm a stand-up comedian, they were like, you need to wear your night guard. Okay, be a big girl. And I was like, okay, right, I'll do it. So I wear my night guard, and now I'm at the point where if I take a nap and I don't wear my night guard, I regret it, okay? Because I'm a grinder, and every time I go to the dentist, he's like, you are grinding to the oldies. Like my teeth, like they just slammed it down. Basically, you could ski off my back teeth. So lately, I've been waking up with pain in my jaw. Like it's enough that I wake up, and I'm like, I have to be an adult, so I have to call the dentist. And I don't want to because I'm like, oh god, it's a root canal. Okay, like I'm just scared. And like, of course, like my brain like goes like to the worst case scenario. My friend's like, okay, don't put the horse before the cart. Like just go to the dentist. And I go in, he does a little test. He does a search. He's like, I think you got a cracked tooth, which means, well, let's do an X-ray. So he does the X-ray, he's showing me, and of course, I'm not a doctor, but I'm like, I don't see no cracks. But he's like, you have a cracked tooth, and I'm like, where? But like, he's the professional, so I guess he saw the crack, and he's like, this means you need a root canal. And I instantly, like, I am someone who has panic attacks. I instantly just had, it was weird, it wasn't a panic attack. It's full-fledged fear, okay? Like for the first time in my life, I was like, oh, this is what actual fear feels like. Okay, this is what your body does when it's just scared. And I was like, I'm terrified to my dentist because I'm a scared person. And he was like, it's okay. He's like, you need to get this done. We should do it right now. And I was like, ew. So of course, like he has to leave to prep, but I'm like texting all my friends. And I'm scared and I'm shaking, but I'm one of those people like even if I'm terrified I'll still do it. I'm just gonna do it very scared, you know. So me and my bandmates have a private joke about my bandmate had like a weird candle silver thing that when you lit it too light it would move, and it was little cats on moons. And I'm not a cat person because I'm allergic, but everybody else in the world is a cat person but me. And so I like to sing things that I see, like your shirt, like golden gold, like that guy would just, like that's what I would do. Like when I just see something and I read it, I'm like, Burger Park, that's here. Like I just like, that's what I do all the time. So I see these cats on moons and I'm like, cat on a moon, period food, because we all had our period, and we all just had like salty and sweet food, and we were just like, rah, at rehearsal. Sorry dudes, but that's just life, okay? So, now we have this ongoing private joke about cat on the moon, and then the second part is period food, okay? So I'm scared. First nurse practitioner, she's like, it's 5 o'clock, I gotta go! Next nurse practitioner comes in, her name's Stacy, she's been smoking Marlboro Reds probably since she was 15 years old, and she's wearing giant cats on moon earrings. No. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay! It's gonna be okay! So like I'm like laying there and she's real close to me here, and my dentist is real close to me here, and they know that I'm terrified. And it's basically like they're hugging me, and they do that thing where they give you a shot of Novocaine. How's your lip feeling? I feel my lip. You shouldn't feel your lip. What'll I do? So I get a second shot of Novocaine, and I get it. I'm a tall lady. I'm 6 feet tall. I still feel my lip. It's a little tingly though. It's like, like my tongue. And like I swallowed some of it, so my throat feels numb. But like, I feel my lips. Like straight up feel my mouth. And he's like, third shot of Novocaine. Now, back when I didn't have dental insurance, because now I do, thank God, okay? Back when I didn't, I found this dentist on Groupon. That's how you do things, right? So I got a dentist from Groupon, and she was like, you still got your wisdom teeth, you need to get those babies out. I was like, well, I don't have dental insurance, how much is this? She said, well, you pay everything out of pocket, we'll do a deal, whatever. So, they basically call me up all the time, like, can you come in? And I was like, I got a show tonight, I'm not getting my wisdom teeth out. Okay. So finally I was like, fine, I'll go in and get my wisdom teeth out. Go in, Dr. Andy. It's real hot, real attractive. And I'm wide awake, but they do the Novocaine thing, and halfway through the surgery, I'm like, Mama feels that. And he's like, you shouldn't. And I was like, but I do. And then this hot-ass man asked me how much I weighed, and I had to tell him. And I've never been so happy I'm fat in my life, because he gave me more drugs. More drugs. And I told him the fat way, I didn't even tell him the truth, you know? So it's just like, this is this, boom, more drugs, felt better. But then I was like, Dr. Andy thought I weighed less. Also, Dr. Andy now knows how much I weigh, like, oh my God. So like, that was horrifying. So now I'm having like flashbacks of Dr. Andy as I've gone through my third shot of Novocaine, and I still feel my mouth about to get this root canal. And the doctor like looks over my head at, you know, his assistant with the Cabaret earrings, and he's like, we gotta do the thing. And I'm just like, what's the thing? But they put a shot in my gum, I go numb, finally. And like that, like I felt all the pressure of all the drugs, but then I was like, I don't feel my mouth anymore, so I'm okay with this. Now in the next room over, I don't know if this man was on drugs, if this is just his normal, that's who he is. He had a laugh like, and it was so funny. And of course I was so scared that I was just lying there like, because I was so scared. It was just like nervous, crazy laughter coming out of my face. And of course the doctor and the assistant were like, yes, it's hilarious, it's hilarious. Like just trying to get me to calm down because they could feel my fear. And they kept saying, I know. It's just like, as I lay there just shaking like for 45 minutes. As we're just waiting for my body to go numb, and it's not. But finally it's numb, but I still felt joy and laughter. So it was done, it was fine, I'm here. Whatever, I gotta go back in, I got a crown and all other bullshit adult crap. I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm not. But I'm gonna be a big girl, I'm gonna do it. Okay, thank you. Also, I really salute you all because I know it's very hot in here and I am an excessive sweater. And I loved your song about sweating because, I wish I was a classy sweater. I wish I liked my handkerchief and I was like, ooh, I declare, it's hot in here, pat myself, ooh. But it's not usually like, just like, it's just like coming out of every pore of my body. Because on the way here, I came straight from work, so I had like my laptop, and of course like I'm office manager, I have like the oldest laptop in the world, like it still has a CD-ROM on it. Like if someone tries to mug me, I'm just gonna attack them with it, because I'll hurt them. It's like a lunch tray from college, you know? It's big and heavy, like my shoulder actually hurts. I'm like, oh, this laptop, oh. And then on top of that, I have like my Wonder Woman bag, because Wonder Woman, of course, and it's filled with my water bottle, because hello, it's hotter than Hades. And I got home, I'm like a big old purse, and I'm just like on the bus, and there's not that many people on the bus, and it was like 20 minutes away, and all of a sudden this like bus came out of the Majestic. I was like, is this even real? It was. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I feel drips going down my leg, and I'm like, I am sweating a lot. And I got butt sweat big time in the summer, just a trail of tears, okay? And it was one of those sweats, the trails, I was like, I don't feel like home base, you know what I mean? Like, where's the sweat coming from? And that's when I moved my stuff and I realized that my water bottle is tipped over. I'm out of the lake, and on my jean skirt from Halls, and it's just right here. So it just looks like I wet my pants on the bus, and my Wonder Woman bag is full of water, and underneath me is a puddle, okay? And the bus wasn't full enough for me to be like, ooh, crazy, like I'm gonna get off. It was like, it's me, okay? So when I got off the bus, I had to be very dramatic, like dump the water out of the Wonder Woman bag, like, it's not pee, it's not pee. But I don't know, they're all judging, I know it. So then I finally I get on the train and then I'm like trying to hide again because I'm just real moist right here and like it's not a good place to be moist and then finally like I'm at a restaurant and then I was like bathroom and then I went in and they had a blow dryer and I've never been this like put my crotch underneath it. So I dried everything out and it was fine. But just remember if you see somebody wet there, maybe it was water.